Welcome to this video on the upcoming fight between Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez coming up 31st of January on Ring 6 main event of that fight. Just want to straight away go through some starting details of this fight before I start breaking anything down, just so everyone's got the lay of the land and knows what's happening in this fight. Obviously, a super fight, between Teofimo and Shakur Stevenson. Both have massive fan bases, and especially in the US, massive stars. Fight will take place at £140. Shakur Stevenson going up from 135, where he normally fights, to 140, and will be the first fight as a pro at this weight for him. Reaching height very close for both. Both slightly favour Lopez, who's naturally a 140 pounder. But really makes no difference. I think it's an inch in height, which is 5'8", Shakur Stevenson, 5'9", Lopez, and I think it's half an inch of reach maybe, which again is going to make naff all difference in the fight. Shakur Stevenson, a defensive fighter who is looking to counter, is one of the best at it, really. Volume fighter, got KO victories, but at the top level needs a perfect shot or likely volume to get a stoppage, I believe. But with each increase throughout his career, he's always up the level. He's been very consistent. He's always won, and he's been very decisive with them victories mostly. Some moments in fights, but who doesn't have those, and always came out with a victory. And again, why I believe the consistency and the ever-increasing level where he just increases, his ability increases with it, is the reason he's a favourite for this fight, in a sense, in the odds and things. Got on to Lopez. Lopez has done amazingly well, beat big names, having a KO power to counter and get stoppages, good head movement to avoid and counter, but if both fighters connect, the power of Lopez shows, and I think that's key. I think he has good head movement. He's in a similar vein to Stevenson. He's defensive. He's looking to counter, but I think he has much more power in them hands. And yes, he hasn't got the KO victories at that top level that we've seen before, but that power does show through in his fights, where a 135er coming up, that could be a problem. That's something I'll get into later. Look, Lopez has been less consistent than Stevenson. Has looked amazing against Lomachenko, great fight, great amazing fight, but then a shadow himself against Kambosos. So it's like, well, you can beat Lomachenko, you can do all this and look incredible, and then actually you go into a few fights later and it's that focus, I believe. It's that key focus around, okay, what is a big fight? Am I really feeling it? Has there been issues in camp? But there are there's sometimes quite easily visible differences between a top form Lopez and a not top form Lopez, which you don't see in Stevenson. Every fight he comes in, he's at that level. Now, I think key, that sort of laid the land of the fight for everyone who, again, isn't fully focused on boxing and things. Now let's talk about each fighter, starting off with Lopez. Lopez, great fighter, champion at 140, great power, has that KO. He hasn't got a KO since 2022, which is key. Faced and won some amazing fighters. Lomachenko, as I said, back in 135 though, in 2020, and since 2022 he's been fighting 140 pounds. Faced and won against notable names: Josh Taylor, Barbosa Jr. in his last fight, having an amazing performance against Barbosa Jr. To Stevenson, obviously 24 wins, 24 fights, which is incredible. Most recent TKO was a TKO against Josh Padley in February 25, so very recently. In a sense, in that fight, it was Padley went down 3 times from body shots in the 9th round prior to the corner throwing in towel. So look, great way to stop it. Most recent fight against Zepeda, who's I believe the best fighter he's fought up to this point. Obviously, again, we'll get into it, but Lopez will be a step on even from that. And where he showed a great fight, against a guy who's very determined, very looking to come forward, gets hit, but continues forward, and got hit. He did get hit. He did get stunned at one point at least, and came through it. And in them later rounds, really showed a dramatic push on to really define that he got the decision. I mean, he did well throughout the fight, but then last few rounds showed a real clear gap in ability between Zepeda and Stevenson. Now to get into each fighter's clips really from, and we're going to look at their last fight because it's the best idea. With Stevenson, it's the best opponent he's faced. Lopez, it's likely, I would say definitely the best fighter he's faced at 140 pounds, which will be the weight for this fight. So that's clear. Obviously he's faced Lomachenko, which I think he's probably the best he's ever faced. But again, good few years ago, and it's time to look at the near future to show what this next fight may look like. Getting into the clips we'll go straight into Lopez's clips first. I think that's a good way to start in his last fight against Barboza Jr. So straight in, first clip, round 1. Good head movement, good movement in general by Lopez. And then just look at this, just so fast. You see, I want to show you in full speed first, but just as he then comes back in, Barboza with a jab straight, just under it, into the body. Great shot, amazing shot, perfect placement as well, as you see there on that frame I've just took there as well. Amazing fighter, and great counter punching, to be honest. And that's going to be, I think, that's a key on the counters. Round 6 now. So getting jabbed, getting pushed back to the ropes, and great head movement. Just making Barboza think a bit more about his shots. And look, basically it comes from that right hook. I think Lopez both get hit, but Lopez comes off probably slightly worse there. Miss, blocked, and he's like, oh wait, what's going to come back now? And just the nervousness around the head movement of Lopez just allows him to then come forward, get out of there. Amazing. Round 7, similar thing, just defending, head movement, protecting the body as well. And just that hook, just amazing. Get out of that hook and then blocking the body shot to then circle out. Incredible work by Lopez straight off the bat. And look here, even there, where he, and this could be a problem. He's firing over his foot, but again, against Barboza, he's managed to roll under the hook, knowing that he's overcommitted there, and he knows it's coming. Against a slicker fighter, a more better counter puncher, could be a problem. Him going over his foot like that. Again, against the ropes here, gets a shot off. In later rounds, you saw Lopez's skill in this fight. He seems to come into it more and more. But look at it, it's just bounced off the ropes. Barboza comes, jab, miss. There you go, circle out. Easy as you like. And this round 9, this is a key problem. This isn't a good point for Lopez here. He jumps in, miss, head down. Barboza couldn't counter him, gets out of the way of that, but look at the jump shot by Lopez. A counter fighter is going to drop him quick with that, especially how fast Stevenson is, which we'll see in a minute. That's going to be a right problem, type of thing that just flash knocks down you quickly in a fight. Now to look at the Stevenson clips, which we'll get straight into. Round 3 with Zepeda. Great shots by Stevenson. Then obviously he's backing up, jabbing, gets put in the corner, which isn't great. But look at this, even defensive work's good, but to be honest, getting hit with body shots, and we'll see in slow-mo in a minute on some of this. But yeah, look, Zepeda coming in, nothing really coming back to stop him. Obviously wants to counter him, Stevenson, as he always does, but miss, hit, then the body shot. And it's good work, and it is good work against a guy. And at 140, is that a problem when you're getting hit with punches like that? Stevenson here, round 4, coming out. Misses, though, coming out to counter and get out of the corner, misses, and then again misses again. And to be honest, against a better counter puncher than Zepeda, which Teofimo Lopez is, that will be a problem. He can move out of the way of those, but yeah, it's going to be a problem with a better counter puncher. Round 8. Zepeda coming forward, pushing him into the corner again. And look at this, just going at him. And look, most of these are getting caught on the gloves or getting just moved out of the way of. But the body shots as well coming in, they're definitely hitting. And part of the problem is, going up in a high weight class. Look at this one jab. Nothing really doing. Jab against the gloves. Bang. One body shot hits. Nothing coming back. Jab, jab. Body shot again. Okay, that mostly missed, but a problem. Stevenson, though, look at end of the fight. Cepeda starts losing momentum. Can't push and pressure as much as he has done in the early parts of the fight. And look, Stevenson now moving around the wing very nicely, getting jabs off, getting punches off, moving, left and right, getting punches off, not getting hit. Perfect. Look at the speed of this combo. I know we put it in slow-mo, but incredible speed for that. And, look, against Cepeda's a great fighter, probably the best fighter he's faced. And he did incredibly well, especially late on, he did incredibly well. Cepeda got shut out, really, late rounds. I think the key is that from them clips, what we get to is, in the last fights, Lopez, good power, head movement, great. But leg coming up from basically a jumping punch and going over that foot as well, where he managed to duck under the hook, the left hook from Barbosa's, but against a better counter puncher, he's going to have real problems. He's going over his front foot massively. You get caught like that, or you get caught with your leg up like he did later on in the clips I showed. That's going to be a problem. You don't need to be caught with a powerful punch. That Stevenson probably doesn't have as much power or KO power at 140. You need to be caught with one shot and you're going down, because it's just you've got your momentum's just going downwards. You're going towards the floor, or you're on one leg. It doesn't take much to get you down once that happens. And once you get a knockdown, even if it doesn't really hurt you, it just stuns you, it just knocks you off balance. That's a 10-8 round off the bat, pretty much, unless you're coming back into it. So a 10-8 round is massive in a fight like this. So look, Lopez is going to be very careful not to do stuff like that against a very technical, very fast as well counter puncher like Stevenson. To Stevenson, I think he's great, fast hands, good ability not to get hurt when in danger. Did he ever get hurt in that fight? Not really at all. No, I would say not. Allows himself to get back into corners and rope very, very easily. He sort of wants people to come onto him so he can counter, but in that Cepeda fight against probably the best opponent he's had, I think he had more problems. Later on, you saw how he actually wants to fight, where he moves into them corners, gets shots off, moves out the way, makes you miss. And not just stand there in duck and weave. Yeah, that's good, but when you're getting hit with big body shots from Cepeda, and then he starts landing jabs, straights, because you are, oh wait, I've been hit, becomes a massive problem, especially when you're stepping up in weight and the power's going to be higher with Teofimo Lopez. And really, the level of fighter is, I think, at least going up 1-2 levels at least. This is a massive fight. Lopez is going to be way beyond anything Stevenson has faced. And that's why I'm a bit nervous around this fight, where the powerful punches, look, there's going to be more power than punches, so only one needs to land. And this is the problem for both. Both get hit. They're good at counter punching and good at head movement, but they're both getting hit. Or, like Lopez, he's doing stuff technically wrong, where a fast fighter, a 135er, for example, like Stevenson, where you see in the last clip the speed on the combos, he will get you down when you make a mistake like that. I think, look, the overall both fighters' boxing record, really, let's get into that as well. Stevenson has beat every challenge, whereas Lopez at points has faced fighters even at a lower level than he's faced before and had problems. He has had problems, Lomachenko, he's beaten him, and then he has problems in the next couple fights where they're not as high profile. I would overall say Lopez has a better resume, though. He has went for them massive fights. He has hit the top level opponents a lot more frequently and has stayed at them levels a lot more. Stevenson seems to go for a good, like Cepeda's probably his best fighter, but then it's really that he's probably a level or two down on the fighters he's fighting sometimes. He's fighting one good fighter, then he's going for a couple easier fights, then going for another good fighter. But really, has he ever hit the same level of caliber of fighter as Lopez has? Maybe in the Cepeda fight, maybe that gets him up there more, but I don't think there's any denying Lopez has way beyond the CV than Stevenson has. Clearly that is, and then that is a concern with, for me at least, how much Stevenson's being favoured in this fight massively. From what I see and what I hear, and even the odds, that look, you're saying that Stevenson's a great fighter. Don't get me wrong, but he's going up in weight to a higher weight, which okay, that can always cause problems, make you slower, which is key for him to be fast. Power is more, which again will be a problem if he gets hit or countered. And also, you're going against a guy who's way beyond anything you've ever faced before, and can Lopez say the same thing? Maybe this is his toughest fight, but it's not way beyond what he's faced before. He's fought Lomachenko, beat him. He's what and that's the key. He's faced that top caliber of fighter. Barbosa's maybe a step below that, but there's definitely less of a push on from the fighters Teofimo Lopez has been facing to Stevenson than Stevenson to Lopez. There's a bigger push on that Stevenson now has to do to face Lopez in this next fight. Overall, my overall prediction, and this is probably what everyone's been waiting for, I think Lopez gets it done. I think that is key. I think Lopez gets this done. He's faced and won against bigger names in his career than Stevenson. I think Lopez cannot show up in fights, and that is key. And this is what people will say when I say Lopez will win. I think he doesn't show up in fights where it's lower level fighters, and he isn't as interested in a sense of it. Against Lomachenko, massive fight, gets a win, and that's key against a fighter like that, of the caliber of fighter like that, getting wins like that, incredible. Less consistent for sure, but I think in their massive fights like this it'll be a massive fight. Does he win? Yes, I think he does. I think he wins. I think he takes full focus on this fight, as he should do. It's a super fight. I do think if there's anyone, both counter punchers, they don't want to be on the front foot as much, but if anyone's going to take advantage of the other person allowing them to pressure them, it's going to be Lopez. Lopez is going to do that, and I think he will pressure him and just wait for the counters, but on the front foot. He gives himself more room. I think Stevenson's not going to be looking to go forward in this fight for sure. I think in the clinch it's going to be different as well, 140 pounds. Lopez, that extra weight's going to favour Lopez a bit more to push him back and get him in them corners. And to keep him there, really, mainly. I don't think Lopez is going to be, in a sense, he's going to be pressuring him, but he's going to look to move back at any opportunity or move his head at any opportunity. It's not going to be a Zepeda fight where he's pressuring him like that. I see it going Lopez's way earlier. I think even getting a knockdown between rounds 4 and 6. I think even in that Zepeda fight, I think when you're a fresh fighter against Stevenson, especially with the extra power, I think he could do it. I do see Stevenson getting back into it, and Lopez dropping their volume and pressure back due to Stevenson making him miss a significant amount of shots in the fight. I think late rounds give it to Stevenson. I think he gets them done. But I think Lopez at that point will have enough rounds in the bank to win the decision. Stevenson needs a KO at that point, and upper weight class, I don't see him really getting it. And against the top opposition like Zepeda, did he even show that he was even close? No, he didn't. He didn't even show he was close to getting a KO. And I think against another step up to Lopez, I think it's going to be even more of a problem with a step up in weight class as well. I think, look, if anyone's likely to get a KO, it will be Lopez, and it will be around round 8 to 9. I think after that knockdown, I think the round 4 to 6 knockdown will be a flash knockdown where he just gets hit by a big shot coming up or moving out of the way or something, and he gets straight back up and he's fine and he can defensively move. He's incredible at that. If he doesn't, if it does hurt him quite badly, then I think rounds 8 to 9 will be the time where he gets backed up, he starts getting pressured. There's a couple rounds, he starts missing again, he gets hit with a few more shots, and slowly gets worn down to the point where a big punch comes in and he can't get out of the way of it. And I think that's it. I think Lopez gets it done on decision. I think, look, it'll be close. I think it would be close. I think if I had to pick, I say, look, it's probably going to be. If I had to guess the scorecard, I'll put that in the video right now so you can see it. But it will literally be 113, 114. Lopez winning it. And I think it'll all come down to that knockdown. I think, to be honest, over the rounds, look, this is going to be close. It could be 150, 112, something like that. But I think close enough to that where you see Stevenson win the good last few rounds and Lopez wins the start of the fight, gets the knockdown. Stevenson probably wins the round in there, I think. And Lopez probably wins, probably around like round 8 or something. I've got him winning. But it'll be around about that, I think. I think that'll be a good... that'll be and look, even if he doesn't get a knockdown, I think that then makes it... that'll make it a draw then, in my view, which it could be that close. I think if he doesn't get a knockdown, Lopez will gain a round somewhere. I've got round 3 for Stevenson, and I've got round 7. He probably wins one of them too. I think he does get a win. I don't see it being a draw. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.